Every year in May, an extraordinary bird arrives in the skies above my hometown in Westport. Indeed, they're attracted to villages and towns and cities all over the country. In a single year, they can travel tens of thousands of kilometers. They eat on the wing, they sleep on the wing, they mate on the wing. They even find their nesting material in the air. The only time they do actually land is when they have to nest. Before man, they would have raised their families in the holes and cliffs and rock faces, but our roof spaces will do nicely. Lynda Huxley is on a mission to track down every nest in Mayo. Swifts are in decline in recent years, and Lynda wants to know why. Now, she works at the Galway and Mayo Institute of Technology in Castlebar, and there she has erected terraced housing for swifts. In each nesting chamber is a camera, and each camera is connected to a monitor, so their progress can be followed over a season. Now, people have wondered if the recent changes in our climate might be responsible for this population decline. But Lynda has been able to tell by observing these nests through the entire breeding cycle that this is not the case. They can find and catch insects under the increasingly wet and windy conditions we have. It seems to be that as we renovate our buildings, that their nest sites are disappearing. Now, 19th century building design suited them best, and this is Westport's swift hotspot.
This is a protected structure built in the 1800s. It's an old convent, but at the moment it's only the swifts are living there. The style of this building is that the roof is held up with rafters, but more importantly the rafters extend beyond the roof, and so they're slightly exposed, and where they meet the brickwork then there are little holes left that haven't been filled in with mortar, and those are the holes that the swifts use. So that means there's a lot of nest site entrances for swifts, and we've got at least 25 pairs of swifts in this building. It's the most important site in Mayo, and probably one of the most important in the country.
How do you go about actually surveying swifts? What's your methodology, as it were?
Yeah, my methodology is just to stand around and watch the birds arriving. So what I did when we surveyed last year is I took a photograph of the building, and every nest site entrance is marked with an arrow, because they'll always go back into the nest site at that specific place.
And I guess you're always on the lookout for new sites too, because juveniles might be colonising new places.
Exactly, yeah. Bangers are young birds that are looking for a nest site. So bangers will come along and they'll try and find a little hole next to an existing nest. Because they can't land, they have to do their nest searching in flight. So they'll fly up to the building and they'll hang on for a moment and see, is there a hole that they can exploit? So if there's an actual nest, they might just peer in and say, oh, you know, there's somebody there, I can't go in there. But maybe if I look next time, just next door, there might be a vacancy. It's a bit like being a kid, I suppose, when you wanted to see somebody living in that house, you'd run up and knock on the door and then run off again. It's a little bit like that.
It's a lovely sound, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely wonderful.
People have long wondered where precisely swifts travel to when they leave Ireland. Their exact destination and the routes by which they get there have only recently been revealed with the advent of new technologies. This adult swift is being fitted with a geolocator. It takes real expertise to fit this so that it doesn't affect the bird's flight in any way. It's just like a little backpack. It will be worn during its entire migration to Africa, and then will be retrapped next year, the backpack removed and the data analysed. The results gained from this technology have given a real insight into their African wanderings, a continent over which they fly but never ever land.
When they leave here, they go down to as far as Mozambique, but they travel over Europe and West Africa. They don't cut straight across the Sahara. they need to keep feeding because they're flying all the time. They only land to nest, so they're only land between May and August. The rest of the year they're flying. So if you're flying non-stop, you really need to keep your energy sources up. So over West Africa, over the tropical forests, and then over Central Africa, the Congo again, you know, all the forests and lots of flying insects. And then as far down as Mozambique, and then they gradually work their way back up again. So it's not a kind of straight there and straight back process. It's a gradual process over the months.
Do all common swifts in the world end up in Mozambique?
No, they don't. We have the common swift in Ireland, and it's the only swift that we have. But the common swift also occurs in China, as well as in the rest of Europe. So they put geolocators on swifts at the Forbidden City. And what they've discovered very recently is that those swifts are going to Namibia. So Namibia is on the kind of southwestern coast of Africa and Mozambique is on the southeastern. So the two populations are actually crossing in the Congo. So our Irish swifts are actually mingling in the Congo with swifts from the Forbidden City, which is absolutely astounding.
Now, Lynda knows the location of every nest site in Westport and probably every one in Mayo. Looking after these traditional nest sites is her first priority. This is one of my locals, you know.
Okay, great.
And I was coming here for quite a while before I realised that there were swifts living in the roof because they can be you don't realise they're there necessarily.
Especially not if you're inside drinking.
Yeah. And so how many nests are in here?
Yeah, there are 8 nest sites in Blouser's pub here, and there are little streaks of white that you can see that just indicate that there are nest sites here.
One
Has one just gone in?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. That's one of the 8 nesting pairs that we have in this building.
Which is quite a lot for a building of this size, I thought.
It is, yeah, and actually we filled up the potential in this building, so there are no more nest sites available here, which is why we put nest boxes in the town hall, and that's just round the corner.
And that's where all those calls are coming from.
It is.
Swifts that are looking to set up home are attracted by those already nesting. So recorded calls are played by the newly provided nesting holes to lure them in. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, they're pretty neat, aren't they?
The future of swift conservation in Ireland.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I think we need to have a lot more projects like this. This is the first in the Republic of built-in boxes, and it's so easy to incorporate them into a new build.
And presumably there's really very little cost in doing this when you're actually designing a building.
Yeah, no, the cost is minimal, and even the whole process of installing the boxes is very simple because you're just replacing blocks with nest boxes. So it's really a win-win because you're providing nest sites for the swifts and they'll be there for as long as the building is standing, which could be hundreds of years.
It's interesting, you know, what you were saying earlier at the convent, that, you know, the best real estate for swifts was built back in the 19th century sort of thing. But now there's no reason why the buildings we build now shouldn't be even better because we know what they want, we know what they need.
We do, and with our construction methods now, we can just find it. We've found another system, a way of providing those nest sites, and we'll be doing it on purpose now.
Lynda has identified every breeding site in Mayo, and that's what we need to do all over the country. We need to find every colony that exists and look after it. We need to put up nesting boxes, and if we do that, we can even welcome swifts to our homes. In that way, every town in Ireland can become a swift-friendly town like Westport.